Let's dive further now into the tariffs we discussed earlier in the show as the long-anticipated measure by the U.S. against Canada, Mexico, and China. And now, in effect, you're looking at a live look at the Dow Jones Industrial Average this morning. But what does this really mean for you, for me, for our wallets? CBS News business analyst Jill Schlesinger joins me now from Studio 57. She also has a wallet, but she knows more than the rest of us. So, Jill, for folks who are uninitiated, just break down for us how this tariff top line makes its way to our wallets when we pay for goods eventually.
You know, when you have a U.S. company that imports a good, say, from Canada or Mexico, that company is now going to have to pay this fee, this tariff. And what normally will happen, this is what happened when we had the last round of tariffs, is that the company will pass along either all of that fee to the consumers or part of it. And what usually will happen is that the categories of goods that come from places like China and Canada or Mexico will trickle down to us and we'll pay more for those things. So what are we talking about? We're talking about something like a house. We know from the National Association of Home Builders that we get about 25% of housing from Canada or Mexico. So maybe it's lumber from Canada, gypsum from Mexico. That could add to pressure in the housing market. We know that autos, that, we assemble them in the United States, but to get to a finished product, we may go back and forth between Canada, Mexico, up to 8 times. So that means a fee will get paid 8 different times. It could raise the price of a car by about $3,000 per vehicle. And of course, food costs. We know so much of our fruits and vegetables, they come from Mexico. I think that's where you start to see the prices jump pretty quickly with perishable items. And poor me, because, of course, there's also going to be a problem with tequila. So tequila drinkers will be looking elsewhere, I think, because it will start to cost more to drink anything imported from Mexico.
Well, you make a lighthearted joke, but it's a great point overall that this impacts every aspect of life in some way, shape, or form. We noted that, Wall Street pulled back yesterday and this morning on news of this hitting. But what is the short and long-term impact? Are we likely to see greater costs down the line rather than anything happening this week?
Well, I'm not sure we'll see anything this week except that stock market volatility, that big down day yesterday and down today. I think what we're likely to see is that prices will drift higher. We could see the inflation rate move from around 3% to, say, 3.5%, maybe even 4% if these tariffs stay in place for a really long period of time. Now, of course, nobody wants that, but we're not going back to the worst of the COVID inflation spike where we had 9% annual inflation. I also think that people have to understand that these tariffs could slow down growth. And what do we mean by that? Doesn't mean we're going to propel into a recession tomorrow, but if the economy was set to grow by, say, 2.5% this year, these tariffs will start to change the way people, individuals, and businesses spend money. That could mean that we see them pull back. Growth could start to pull back. It does not necessarily mean, again, it's going to be the worst thing ever. But I think we should be prepared that it's going to be a bumpy ride. If you're an individual and you're freaked out about these market moves, I would encourage you not so much to mess around with your retirement account, but do look at your cash position. Do you have 6 to 12 months of emergency reserves built up? Have you tried to really pay down that debt that's outstanding? I think those are critical things that you can do today to prepare for an uncertain future. Messing around with your retirement account, moving from stocks to bonds or cash, you're not going to time the market. So try to avoid making any big decisions when it comes to the investments in your life.
Yeah, so important to separate the emotion you may accurately feel from the realities and the fundamentals. Jill Schlesinger, always great to chat with you. Thank you very much.
Sure.